Hey, we have a cool call lined up. I told you guys earlier, I'd definitely take out your notes and learn something today. This is going to be a call that you probably look back on a couple times. Some of these points have made me think a lot deeper about this business, especially from a new agent standpoint. So if you're new within your first 90 days, this is going to be great for you. If you're maybe 2 or 3 years into the business, this is also going to be great for you. You look back and say, hey, maybe this is one area of my business that I haven't been focused on recently that I need to get re-engaged with. So Rod, Wilbur, you guys can take it from here. I'm going to pin you guys up to the front so that way for the recording, you guys can just see your faces on here. But just super proud of you guys and honored to have you on the call today.
Sweet.
Let's
Thanks,
go.
dude. And remember, spotlight, not pen. Spotlight.
I got you. No worries.
Spotlight. Yeah, what's up, everyone? I know most of you, obviously, but if I don't, I'm Wilbur, an agency owner within the Schnitzer Master Direct Bob with two B's Grandsard. And then I got Rod, who unofficially, let's just say he might make a move on that board, that last board Scott just showed a minute ago, in a few weeks here, but I can't say anything other than that, or I might get in trouble.
I think it's pretty much a done deal, but I
I
mean,
mean,
who
it's
likes
pretty.
following the rules anyways?
I've never known what a rule. I've never known the purpose of a rule, to be honest.
Let's go. There we go.
Can we
Found him.
get Rod on here? There we go. Hey, Rod.
Hey,
Um, cool. So yeah, I remember over the last, really since I've gotten here and since like Scott and Kate hit agency owner, and then since Bob did, randomly on Wednesdays, I would get a text like, "Hey, can't wait till you're on this agency owner mastermind call." And those of you who don't know, when you get to agency owner level, you get to attend a mastermind with all the other AOs, the founders, and some other corporate staff before the national call on Wednesdays. And I can confidently say it's probably my favorite call of the week because it goes into really heavy detail, really tactical use to be able to implement into your business. And then also you get to hear like directly from the founders. And so like the other agency owners on here have like dropped something in the chat to like reaffirm what I'm saying, because it's without a doubt one of the more valuable calls. And the reason I'm telling you that is because I took the framework of the one that we had last week, which included some notes from Sarah Reineke, as well as the founders themselves, on basically like how to make sure that you're growing something sustainable to get your income up, your leadership up, everything up. And Scott asked me, he said, "Hey, will you just do that on Monday?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we thought it made sense, to bring Rod up too, because there is obvious growth within his agency, and taking a lot of these steps as like as a newer builder and leader, and like taking everything in stride. And a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today, I don't want it, it's not from a platform of like, this is something I have only accomplished. It's not like unique to one person. Some of the check marks we're going to go over, Rod has spoken about or Rod has taken care of personally. And you're going to see some of that today. And so the kind of the line that the label for this call is like act as if, so you can actually reap the rewards of what this business and what Symmetry has to offer. And so the reason I say that is because it's really hard to conceptualize getting to like the next level. You kind of like when everything is relying on you get stuck in your head of like, oh, I've got to make my dials, I've got to do this, I got to do that. And so you can kind of get caught in a revolving door. And without having somewhat of a vision that like this can get bigger, I can be a bigger leader, I can be a better producer, all of the things, it can create like a dangerous game where I think a lot of people, and maybe some of you that are hearing this are feeling yourself like, oh, that's actually me right now. And if so, that's okay. That's what these calls are for, to be able to help you understand that like you can get out of that, and there are steps to be able to do so. So that's where the like act as if came from, to be able to really see yourself in a bigger lens. And so we're gonna go over like 9 checkpoints of just some like tangible things, and something that you can take and ponder on and put into action. And so The first one, right? Like, and this goes into not only you from like a personal production and income standpoint, but also if you want to build, right? And I think most people I saw when Scott, and I could scroll up and look, but like when Scott said, "Hey, who wants to be an agency owner?" Which say pretty much every week, every time we put a bunch of numbers in the chat, right? But in order to do that, like there's got to be some action involved. And the first one, right, is like what something that the founders have said on repeat. I heard it at AOA. Any other agency owner that's been there has heard it too. Is like you've got to issue business. Issuing $15,000 worth of business on your pin does so many things. One, it puts money in your account, right? That's the give it. That's a start. Two, it also creates a little bit of discipline behind like the of what direction your agency will go, and then your people will also see that. So there's like those are a couple of main factors, but like Rod,
Yeah.
I want to kind of pass that to you of like you typically issue somewhere between around plus or minus 15 grand every single month, right?
Yeah.
And so for you from a confidence standpoint, what has that done for you?
First of all, I want to make sure. Am I echoing?
Nope.
Sound good? Okay. Cool.
Beautiful.
Cool. What is it done for me as a confidence standpoint is put money in my bank account, um, and give me the ability to know I can help families to a point where I know I can train people on that.
Yeah,
So
and the activity that goes behind that, right? Like if you
Mhm.
can take, by the way, FYI, Rod started full time, came on in December, didn't really do anything. He started full time in January. Like that was his first full time month. Rod hit every single slingshot that you can do starting January. January was month one. He went to 85, then 90, then 95. And has pretty much held his has held that since then. And then again, unofficially, we should be moving up here shortly. And so I'm telling you that to understand like one, the activity he's about to go over, there's some evidence behind. And so from an activity standpoint, from like your month, let's say January, February to now, what has been the difference?
the biggest difference is something I didn't do when I first started out that I feel like would have had put me like this instead of like I went like this, like this, like this is a consistent flow of understanding of a script, like stick to one thing. So what's changed for me recently is I stick to one script. I stick to the same lead order, and if I change leads, I get extra. I don't just close out all my leads. Something I did when I first started out, which I recommend everyone not to do, is I would hear something and I would change everything about my whole process. So it was always like kind of rocky, and I'll hear a new lead and I'm like, oh, let me do this. But what I started to understand is that everything works. You just gotta figure out how it works for you. So then when I realized that's what I've been applying in the past couple months is that ideology of like, let me just stick to one thing, master it, and then from there I'll scale. So the biggest thing that's changed is my, did that answer your
Yeah,
question?
it makes 100%. Yeah, you never want to go and make a hard pivot like that. You can add, I always say addition to, right? So you've
Yeah.
got what you already have in place, and you can add on to that. But when you make hard pivots, there's always going to be a lag. Something you said to me this morning, or maybe it was last night when we were talking, is we talked about the slingshot, right? Like we talk about it on our interviews, we talk about it on the meet and greet, of being able, you have the ability to raise your contract 15% in the first 3 to 4 months. And the reason I say 3 to 4, because like if you come in and you start halfway through a month, your first real month will be like the next one. So I say 3 to 4, right? But let's say you've got a 3 month window. You're the one who said it. You're like, it really should be non-negotiable. Like it should be
Yeah.
non-negotiable that you make that happen. And so like the make it happen mentality, like talk on that for a second.
I mean, it's I want to say it's easy. It's just simple. Like we have everything in place for you to do it. And if you're doing this as a business and a long-term career, you want to raise yourself as fast as possible. So my make it happen is like if I have a goal in place for myself, I would do whatever it takes to make that goal a reality for me. So say like for this month, for example, I have a 40 sit goal and I only sat 8 in my first week. Now I know I have to make it happen. I said 12 this week. So like I adjust my goals and my activity based on where I want to go. So make it happen is like, say you want to issue 5K. get with your upline, your mentor, and say, okay, what does that take? Okay. If you're not getting there with the numbers they give you, do more to make it happen. You know, like there's gonna be things that people tell you what to do, but sometimes you have to get creative and push yourself a little bit harder and stretch yourself a little bit more to make that happen for yourself. Like I hope that makes
Oh
sense.
yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah. And if you get into the mindset like every week, oh, I'm gonna go do this week, but your activity and your resources are the exact same from the week before. This is not a jab at anyone, but evidence is going to probably repeat. Evidence and history will probably yield the same result as prior. So something I think that's a great bar that you just landed there. So the second point I want to talk on, which I'm not going to go too in depth on, but it is relevant, right? If put a one or whatever in the chat if you've got kids, maybe you do parent pickup or maybe like whatever it is. So something that I personally took way too long to do was to go and find help. And when you hear the word help, I'm not going to go too deep on this, but when you hear the word help, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go hire an admin, but your schedule needs to be, you need to architect your schedule in a way that allows you to do the things that are necessary, right? And so when I hit an agency owner, Scott said, do something fast and get some help. Guess what I didn't do? Listen, right? And so then I met with Sarah Reineke and she was like, I hear the XYZ, but like, dude, you gotta like your afternoons are cooked. Like you're leaving like a huge part of the business. And so a very simple conversation, right? All I did was raise my hand and ask for help. We've got a neighbor down the street who's got a kid. I think she's a freshman in high school. And now she comes over 3 days a week to hang with my boys in the afternoon because my wife works full time. And I typically pick the boys up and do homework, which, now mind you, blessing, right? It has allowed me to do that for years. But I also know there's only a certain capacity that I can get to. And you talk about John Maxwell's like law of the lid. And from a personality standpoint, you've got a lid, but then there's also a time restraint that you've got a lid. And so my time restraint was that I was leaving hours on the table in the afternoon. And so I went and found help. Right. And it doesn't mean I went and hired somebody to on an admin side, simply just freed me up to focus on production a little bit more and run some more interviews. Since I've done that, like last week, for instance, $3,900 app while the babysitter was here, right? Do you think that $13 an hour or whatever we're paying her is worth it based on that? Yeah. And honestly, the boys have more fun with her anyway because like, I'm dad. So there's that too. So if you have that like guilt feeling, I get it. I totally get it. But there's a way to be able to get more time back in your schedule. And then yes, and then going back to the original of like what this call is about, which is like think as if, act as if you say and want to get to a level of, let's say, agency owner or whatever, key leader, agency owner, agency director, 130, you have to see yourself in a way that is going to allow you to move in that way. And something that we have heard from Kate a million times, you're not getting credit for this, Scott, is what did Ashley always tell us was act as if you were 130. What would a 130 do? And Rod actually reminded me of that today, this morning when we were talking, like, what would a 130 do, right? And so you might not have the ability to see yourself of bringing on an admin right now, or anything. But if while you're working and while you're doing things, if you can start mentally preparing yourself to say, you know what, this is when I get to a point and I can do it, this is something I'm going to hand off to an admin. This is something that I'm going to be able to find help on. This is a resource that I'll be able to give away so I can get more time back. And if your brain is already there when the time actually comes, you're prepared for it. You are totally prepared for it, and it's going to be a lot easier to hand off. And I can tell you from personal experience, I did not do that. Right. And so you're getting a conversation from retrospect right now because it's been a little bit more difficult because I've held on to things for too long that when it came time to hand away, I was like, what do I do with my hands? Right. Because
we get to coach Rod before he steps into this. Like,
oh yeah,
Rod, don't wait too long because we both did. But I want you guys to even think about like services too. It's not just hiring like an admin or hiring like a babysitter, I guess, as a service, but it's not always hiring someone in your business. It may be hiring help that allows you to be in your business more focused when you need to be. And Don, like I get the mom guilt and dad guilt type of thing too. That happens in our house as well. But we also have like very clearly defined scheduled family time on our calendar, and it's a lot better than me, honestly, from my previous career, coming home at 8 or 9 p.m. every night and wishing that I had that time. It's actually on my calendar now from 5:30 to 7. However, when I was first building my business, I would let business bleed into that time. I think that's where you got to kind of say, okay, am I really being intentional where my feet are right now? Because for me, if I was trying to juggle everything and do everything and be everything, I would have to be business owner, Scott, dad, and husband at the same time, where I'm trying to juggle all three of these things, and one of them is going to get the lesser of me.
Yeah.
So, like for me this year, just a couple things that we do. We're doing a meal prepping service. We hired someone to snowplow our driveway instead of me doing it in the morning and taking away from quality, precious family time. We're having a snowplower come through every morning. It just snowed yesterday, so now this is like coming in fruition. It's an hour I don't need to spend every morning in the driveway. And there's different things that Kate and I have done from, I mean, guys, I have the ability now to think more about like how can I really scale these services. But when I was new, these are the things that I should have done is get my time back. And I'll tell you guys what Marshall Whalen always says. If you mow your own lawn, go ahead and light up $100 bill. You guys got to look at your own time as $100 an hour plus time. Okay, because that's what's possible here with production. You can make about $1,200 in a 45-minute appointment. That's our average sale size. So if you're doing that type of work, and you're spending your time doing, maybe the lawn is like your go-to escape getaway for the day, Wilbur. You could light $100 bill on fire and be okay with that. That's cool. Go ahead and mow the lawn. But when I heard him say this, I was like, well, where am I spending my time that I could be spending it with family?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, so that's the second. So like number one, right, is being able to issue business. Number two, seeking out help when the time is right. Number three is going to be, which this this is might be one of the more important, especially if you're trying to get paid. Master instant issue business. Master is instant issue business. I will say that 1,000 times. Speed builds trust. Speed builds trust, right? And so just because you might go and search every single carrier to find somebody $7 cheaper a month, what you're going to do is you're going to end up having to push off the appointment because you're like, oh, I'm going to go do my research. You're going to end up having to submit something to underwriting. It's going to go off into the abyss and something might pop up, right? If you can learn instant issue business and find your core carriers that you know how to work with, it is going to significantly increase everything across the board. And also about that, we are professionals. And so it is, you have to learn, we have to learn that if you get an instant denial, first of all, it's not a denial. Hey, Rod, you're not favorable. I'm going to go ahead and start looking at this other carrier, to make sure we can get ourselves approved today. Like, you don't need to go into a huge detail. You're just pivoting. But what that does is it builds a lot of trust, and you're able to pivot from there and get you moving forward. If you, and again, when you're trying to hit promotions, when you are looking at like your snapshots and it's the end of the month and you go send something off to a carrier that takes forever for underwriting, and then you miss a promotion of that, one, you're delaying your payment coming in, two, you're delaying your contract raise, and then three, you're putting time into the buyer's remorse to a client, right? If they're like, I don't really know, what do you mean? I thought they told me I could get approved. Like, what is this? And then it goes off and you call them and you're like, hey, and then you can't ever get a hold of them again. So sometimes, like, yes, we have to end up doing something like that. But I would argue to say over 80% of the time, you can get them an instant decision. So Rod, I know you had some struggles with that in the beginning, not really struggles,
Yeah.
but like you've learned some lessons from that. I like, what is learning to the instant route done for you?
A lot, a lot. I would always, like you said, I wrote the cheaper products, for a lot of my clients first starting out. And what it did for me was it put them in underwriting. And for that, I would lose a lot of deals in terms of like I wouldn't get paid right away. It would also mess up my confidence. I kind of have to be chasing clients in a sense. It kind of ruins it affects your posture. When you don't get paid right away and your clients aren't like protected right away and you have to wait 24, 48, 72 hours and keep checking up on it and follow up, it just kind of, it wastes time. What I started doing is I only write America. I only write, and I just started doing this America for any whole life plans, and it gets me paid the same day. It's so cool. Like I got paid from a policy I wrote on Friday today for like $400 right there and then for term I write SBLI or LGA,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, and it does allow you to, and also like our system is so unique now that a lot of times if you stay on Navigator platform, you can like copy information over and
Yeah.
it makes your life a lot easier. So that was like something on the AO call they were like harping on hard, like instant issue business, make sure you're getting your people taken care of, and also then you can go and teach it. And I saw a question in the chat, what is instant route? Instant means that the application that you were filling out, you're going to get a decision by the end of that. Yeah, okay, Scott just answered. You're going to get a decision at the end of that application. So that's the fourth point. The fifth is, and I am guilty of this, but I've done two in the last 2 days, so I'm coming for it. Resets. Like, I don't know whoever's on the accountability call, if you were on Fred's on Fred when Fred led it, I don't know, one day last week towards the end of the week, and he ran that big slideshow. He had that big slide deck of like the quickest way to make 250 grand. And you saw that, and I see the like SMEs like Venus shaking their head, like if you saw the reset money that was attached to that, I looked at that and I'm like, holy moly, there is so much being left on the table. And so I can tell you personally, like this is a mission that I know I am on, and we're starting to talk about it a lot more. And today, for instance, MIA lead gentleman was already taken care of. We went over everything he had. He was like, man, I'm gonna be honest, like we got great coverage, and I could not combat that. And I said, hey, tell me this though, would there be benefit if you were able to pay your mortgage off, in the next like 5 to 9 years? And he was like, well, duh. And I said, well, perfect, right? And so we sent it off. And I was like, damn, like all I did was ask, would it be easier for your mortgage to pay off? Who's going to say no? Right. I mean, like it's going to happen, but not that much. So that's a point too, is on the resets. I don't want to take a lot of time on that. If you don't know what those are, in the Mac room, Finding Income Friday with Fred every Friday at noon, like it's a resource that we've got. The other is, and Rod, I know you've done this, and I know you've learned a lot from Scott on this part. Is that if you're working full-time or part-time in this business, you're working from home, you can isolate super easy. And Jamie Susie says there's two things that'll kill your business fast. The fastest two killers here are an unsupportive spouse and your calendar. Right. And so if you are considering yourself to be full or part-time and you haven't done, like, if you're not doing some sort of time audit, then you're going to be in trouble to make sure that you are maximizing all of your time. And so, Rod, I know recently you changed a lot of the stuff on your schedule. Take 1 minute and talk about the importance of like knowing where your time is going.
The importance to know where my time is going is, I mean, I know what I'm producing and I know when I'm recruiting. There's no gaps in my calendar. So like when I used to have gaps in my calendar, I would catch myself on YouTube, Reels, Instagram, anything you think of. I would kill time. Dishes, walking my dog, which are all they're all noble excuses in a sense. Like there are noble excuses like, oh, I got to hang out with my family, but if it's not on your calendar, it wasn't intentional, it's not gonna be that valuable. With that being said, like I got very specific on my calendar. Scott does something which I would love. Maybe I'll throw in a chat after a audit of his calendar, like the 168 calendar audit where he does God, family, friends, business in that order, like where he has all time timed out. So when he's working, he's working. When he's not, he's not. And I feel like that's what I've been doing, and it's allowed me to work harder when I work, and then when I'm not working, I'm able to actually like get really good rest and rest deeply to fuel me because I'm not worried about like, oh my gosh, did I do X, Y, and Z? So yeah.
100%. Yeah, yeah, and it's major. And by the way, it's a constant evolution, right? When you first get here, you're like, I just need to dial and set appointments. I just need to dial and set appointments. Then you're starting to run appointments. Then you're starting to sit more, and so you have to adjust along the way. Scott, type in the chat whatever Steve says about champions. Excuses. What does he say?
I was just thinking that. I was
Yeah, I
just thinking
know,
that
but
champions make decisions based on commitments and amateurs make them based on feelings. And
yeah,
what Rod just said is he doesn't have to make decisions based on his feelings anymore because it's planned out. And I think that's the overarching message, is to have your week planned out first. And then second, I think there's a learning curve to that, Rod, which was actually executing your calendar, which is what we saw you go through your first 4 months here. You did it really well. Started off on, this is what I say I'm gonna do, versus now this, like, if it's in your calendar, it is absolutely happening. So major honor to your growth in that, in running a calendar. But I think we got to go through that learning curve first by intentionally making sure every hour of the day is planned out. and that family time and that rest time. Those things
Yeah.
that really refuel you, that you're going to feel guilty about if you miss. Make sure all that stuff's scheduled. And then the second part of that would be executing. Because if you want to be a professional, you got to execute based on your commitments. Like, what are you committed to running 10 appointments a week, Rod? Are you committed to serving X amount of families a month? Because I know your calendar reflects that. I've seen it recently. It's really, really solid. So, I see Giovanna posted the 168 audit in there. I just re-recorded a new one, Giovanna. I'm going to post the new one.
Yeah. So we got 3 more points and we only got 10 minutes left. The next point, which is probably what I'm most excited, like why I really wanted to have Rod on, was because of, and I've seen it throughout the agency, right? I've seen it from Scott to myself, like from like me being under Bob, watching like the way that Bob, sounds weird, but like the way Bob leads me now than we were like 2-3 years ago when we have conversations is like, we're all just different. And so where that's come from is in order to like to walk and step into leadership, you got to find people, right? Like you've got to find people. You can become a good leader from a production standpoint, yes. But you know, if we were on a few weeks ago when Brad Smith was on, right, coincidentally with Rod, and Brad Smith was on, and what did he say? He said the goal in a base shop when you get to a certain size is you want to be creating team leaders as fast as possible. That's your goal, right? And what is a team leader? Here's one right, what 10,000 issue with 2 writers to you, right? So 3 writers total, 1 being you, 10K issued in a month, right? So like that's pretty, it's not that difficult to do when you really peel back the onion. But like Rod, dude, from a leadership standpoint, what I've seen you do in the last, where are we? November? I don't know, let's say 6 months. What has it done from your for your just overall being of stepping into the leadership role, about to unofficially hit key leader, 100%? You've got people moving, you've got people active, you're starting to take initiative and kind of architect your own agency. So like, what, for anyone who is newer, like what has that done for you being a newer builder?
Put fire under my butt. You can't not execute, when you have people looking at you, one thing that I was told is like, like Wilbur said, like you have to, it pushes you higher, because now you're leading somebody, so what leadership has done for me is it like, I take every, once again, schedule, like if I'm gonna say to somebody, master your calendar, I have to master it too. It's caused me to be a lot more humble. If I'm telling someone to do it and I'm not doing it yet, I'm not doing this yet, but I want you to do it, and I'm gonna do this with you. Like there's a lot of humility that comes with being a leader, and it's been a mirror, because you can see things that other people aren't doing, you're getting mad at them for, but you're not even doing yourself. So it becomes like your ages become your mirror, and that way it helps you grow a lot quicker because you have other people that you see where they're messing up, and it also can be an area where you're not fully developed in to coach them. So now you're forced to learn in that area to coach them, and then from there expedite your leadership
Yeah,
and
perfect.
growth personally. Yeah.
If you're on Rod's team, drop a word about Rod in the chat. All right, the next one, which I'm like the most excited to talk about, is
I'll
something
drop a
we
word
did.
about him.
What?
I'll drop a word about him.
Yeah, no, you mute. The next thing is I launched this in our agency on Friday, and then Scott was like, dude, let's do this as a whole, right? The whole Schnitzer master. And I can't remember who I stole this from. Honestly, I'm brain farting on that one. But we're doing a 10-sit challenge, right? We're doing a 10-sit challenge. So other AOs, I'm calling you up and out with your team. If you've got an agent that can prove that they sat with 10 families, whoever sits with the most per week gets up to a $25 reward or prize reward. And so we're doing that within the Smith Agency, 10-sit challenge every single week for the rest of the year, right? And so if that's something that appeals to you, because think about that. If you sit with 10 people, Rod, what does average stats say you'll write?
5K.
5 people, right? Exactly. So kind of math, right? So 10-sit challenge, throwing that out to the whole entire group to be able to jump on that bandwagon. I'm already at 1 sit, 1 app. So everybody else, you guys got to keep up. And then the last thing that I think a lot of people really forget of like why Symmetry Financial Group, this agency, is like so gold, is system, right? If you're going to start building, or even only if you only want to say a producer, if you are not using if you are not using the hiring to the system and using the system to leverage what you have, this is going to be very difficult. And what I mean by that is we have so many things in place. The reason that this appealed to me, most of you have probably heard me say this maybe, is like my last business, there were so many things that I had to create and it was new and I'd have to learn it. And here is turnkey ready, right? I was able to walk in, there were things already in place, and that was like a golden nugget for me to be able to see that. And what we have now, when I say hire to the system, right, like if you're trying to create your own wheel without having a foundation, it's going to collapse. Symmetry has a foundation, the Schnitzer master has a foundation, your AOs have stronger getting their foundations, right? And so if you're not leaning on that, there's a big chance you're going to fall. And I'm not saying that negatively, but there's a reason that this is designed this way. And it was told to me in the very beginning, you can come here and you can create whatever you want. It's your name, right? It is yours. But in order to do that, you have to get somewhere first. And so if you're hiring people and not utilizing the things that we have in place, and like for some simple examples, would be like not utilizing the Mac room, not utilizing the handbook, not using some of the symmetry like tracking mechanisms that they've put out. If you can think of anything else that you use on a daily basis, like drop that in the chat, because if you're hiring and you're saying, hey, like they do all of this stuff, but we're going to go over here and do it my way. Well, guess what you've done? You have put the spotlight and all of the weight onto your shoulders. And if it starts getting hard, then their demise will be on the leadership's demise, right? Which will be the individual who has taken that on themselves. So like, yeah, accountability group is a great place as well. And so you hear a lot of times, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, people like business is leverage, right? Well, okay, what are you leveraging to make yourself better, right? You don't know how, if I'm a newer agent and I don't know that much, even a seasoned agent, I'm not the best to talk about resets and FIFs and stuff, but guess what? I'll tell you to go sit on Fred's call like I did. Go sit on that. You can learn. If you're like, hey, I want to hear live dials, and you're like, sure, let me find a time where you can hear me dial. Sure. There's people live dialing every single hour, right? There's people live dialing every single hour. And if you're a good leader, you say, all right, let's have you listen to a seasoned agent. When's Giovanna dialing? Go listen at 10 o'clock every single Monday. You'll get what you need, right? Speaking of that, 12 o'clock, 11 a.m., Giovanna with Ruth. Thanks.
It's either 12 or 11. I'm not
12
sure.
or 11. We don't know. 12, 11, 6, 7.
It was
I
a
don't
good
know.
dial session though. And Wilbur and I are still there learning from Giovanna. Like you guys got a leverage system. I think this was one of the biggest lessons for me when I was new, Wilbur, because I had such a huge desire to grow an agency here. I came in, needed to learn production, obviously. Um, guys, these in order are actually really important if you took notes today. Issue 15K in business every single month. Master instant issue, okay? Because it's gonna make your life a lot easier. You're gonna be spinning your wheels a lot less, spending a lot less time. Master your schedule. Grow yourself as a leader. When you start growing a team, leverage the system so that you can do those things more that I just mentioned. Leverage the system so that you could do those things more because the natural want and desires for you to feel like you're providing value for these new agents that you're hiring when really there's such a great system in place already. So I would replicate before you innovate. You're going to get the time eventually at some point in the game to innovate your own processes, to run your own play. But I would replicate at the expense of Symmetry Financial Group and everything that they have to offer while you're building your business and while you're building up the skill set and the mastery of doing 15K issue month after month after month. Who wants to be in business a year from now? Okay. Can I give you guys the simple answer to how you do that? It's gonna be one thing. Sit in front of 10 families a week. Sit in front of 10 families a week. That's going to keep you uber profitable in here in a year from now, still running your business. Because I promise you, it was number 6 was leadership, right?
Yep.
I promise you, if you do that while you pour into number 6, your battery is going to get larger. Fill it, look at Rod over the last 4 months. Battery is growing. That's why we wanted to have him on the call today, because we're both just super proud of you, bro. But his battery and capacity is so much different than it was 4 months ago. It's really cool to see. Sitting in my position, this is probably the coolest thing that I get to watch happen within our agency. is people come in and grow their batteries so large that they can now handle more and do more and experience more. And things that used to be mountains are now molehills to them because their battery's bigger and they can just handle more. So, Wilbur, excellent call today. Rod, excellent example of how some of these things are working out in real lifetime.
Yeah. I think the overarching like final message is again going back to act as if and put yourself in the position. Put yourself in the position, even if the actual labor of doing whatever you're thinking about isn't there. I can tell you, like, if I could go back in time, that is 100% what I would have done, and I'm sure other leaders can attest to that as well, because it just, you've got to be able to see yourself in a bigger light. And if you can't do that, from a personal development suggestion, if Jenny's on, like, read the book, Be Your Future Self Now. Go read it if you haven't yet, because it will make you open yourself up. I can guarantee it. If you don't, then I'll refund you your money back. All right, cool. It's 1 o'clock.
Can we with something?
Yeah, finish it out.
I would say the biggest thing that held me back for a while was my ego. My ego and trying to do this all by myself, trying to figure it out, different scripts, adjust this, X, Y, and Z. So if one thing I can leave y'all with is leave your ego at the door. It's gonna save you a lot of time and excel your process here, because there's multi-millionaires here with the same exact system that you have. You just gotta actually apply it and be consistent with it. It's that simple.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's it, fam.
10 sits. 10 sits. Oh, wait, last thing. Get active in the general channel of Slack, please. Like, get up in there. Every sit, everything you do, like, talk about it. Put some fuel on the fire to get people excited. The people need to know.
I got my money on Sabina hitting those 10 sits first this week. I got my money over Rod.
Whoa!
Have a great day.
That's a crazy statement.
Love you all. Bye-bye.